Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day, and as promised in my previous video, I have a very special shave for you today, and I want to introduce you to a razor that I love. As you know, I'm mainly a vintage razor person, sort of a vintage Gillette, vintage anything shaver, but my very first razor was actually this Mula R89. That was my very first razor that I shaved with, and that got me into wet shaving, but I've not bought another new production razor since then. I've owned literally hundreds and hundreds of vintage razors, but never another new manufacturer razor. So I got this razor right here, which most of you will know. This is the Merkur Progress, and in German it's Merkur, but we're Americans, so we'll call it a Merkur. And it's a beautiful razor. This is the long-handled version, about 4¼ inches long, and weighs in at 99 grams. So it's a long, fairly heavy razor, and distinctive, has this little plastic knob on the bottom, very distinctive head profile. Let's see, there we go, very distinctive head profile, and when you put the blade in, it's neat because it sort of just floats there, and it's strange, it really is. But there aren't a lot of videos about these out, so I'm going to tell you how you work them. There's a little dot there, and what we're going to do is that's sort of the front of the razor. The side of the head has a triangle, and then there's a notch in the cap, but it's considered a two-piece razor because this comes out and this knob stays on there. Now, it doesn't have to stay on there. If you just apply a little bit of pressure, it'll come right out, and that's what it looks like, totally disassembled. Now, inside here, where the blade rests on the blade bed, there's a spring, almost like a red dot or a bottom dial. That blade, that razor bed right there, goes up and down, and what happens is, as you put the cap on, you wind up screwing into the threads, and as it makes contact with this plate here, the pressure keeps this knob tight. It's a very simple design. It's a very solid design. It's a good design, and so that's how it works. There's a dot there that's an indicator. That's the front of the razor, and that indicates what setting you're on. It has 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot, 5 plus. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and load a blade in here. And actually, you can run through those numbers twice. So even though it's set to have, let's say, 5 settings, it really has like 10, because once you crank it all the way down, you're going to crank it all the way down, you probably can't see the numbers, but you're going to crank it all the way down, and that's down to, it's actually back at 5 plus, but then number 1, that's your first setting, and then you can dial it all the way through to 5, and then all the way through again to 5. So it actually has 10 or more settings, and it still keeps that razor taut. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it on number 5, and I also have this, which is a vintage Merkur Progress, and it's gold, and it's a short handle. As you can see, there is a big difference. This is actually just a hair over 3½ inches. This is 4¼ inches. The weight is 81 grams for this, 91 grams for this, so there's a pretty decent weight and size difference. I love these razors. They give an incredible smooth shaves, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shave with both of these razors at the same time. I'm going to do it two-handed, and I have never seen anything like that before. It might not work. I've never tried it before. I've never tried to use 2 hands to shave at a time. But I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see. I'm going to be lathering with my Gillette made in England brush. This is a boar brush, or I mean a badger brush with a Nathan Clark silver tip on here. And I have this vintage Hoffert's pewter bowl that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to go for my old reliable C.O. Bigelow shave cream. And I'm going to whip up a nice lather. So these bowls are great. Just hold them in your hand like that. And I added a little bit of Blades Grimm Smolder Pre-Shave Oil to this. And I'm going to see what that's like. Lathering in a bowl, I've only ever face lathered or mug lathered. I've never really lathered in a bowl before. But the last time I did, it was a good experiment and a good experience. So what you do is, you can see the brush is loading up, the bowl is starting to get a little bit creamy, and we're just going to keep working this up until we get a really nice lather. This Gillette brush is really great. It's actually a vintage brush, and came with a tiny little badger knot that literally was like that tall, and it was all weird and gross and just nasty, absolutely nasty. So I said, what can I do? So the knot just wound up falling out, and I took that knot out, cleaned the brush up, and then thanks to Justin Sullins, a very good friend of mine, he hooked me up with this sweet knot. And this Nathan Clark Silvertip is, I mean, it's like satin on your face, and just whips up a really good lather. I mean, I've been lathering for 30 seconds here, and just a lot of lather. So what we're going to do is this. I am going to go ahead and start applying to my face and finish lathering on my face. Ooh, boy, that's nice. That's that. Wow, I love that brush. I absolutely love it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that both of my razors are set on 5. I'm going to shave one side of my face with the new production, one side with the vintage. And I'm not going to look at the camera, I'm not going to look at the mirror, because then you won't be able to see one side. I'm going to look straight in here at the camera. And I don't know how it's going to go, because I've never done it before. I may hack my face to shreds, I don't know, because my camera screen is like this big. So my face is like the size of a pea. So I don't know. We'll see. One thing about these progress heads, the angle is just a little bit funny. But we'll see. See what happens. 2 Gillette silver blue blades in here. Thank you very much, Jim White. I appreciate it. And let's go. And it's go time. Hope I don't whack my sideburns off. Wow. Smooth razors. Smooth. I'm just going to line up here with my sideburns. There we go. And now under. Shaving in the camera is not very easy because I can't even see. First pass done. you're in a hurry, try shaving with 2 hands. Half the time. I don't know if I got everything, but that's okay. We're going to try this again. Against the grain. Against the grain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it back down to a lower setting for both razors. Make sure both razors are on the same setting. I want exactly the same shave. And against the grain now. For the record, I can barely see a thing because my bathroom is so dark. These are fluorescent lights in front of my mirror here, so when I come up to the camera, whew, my whole face is a shadow. I'll back up so you can see a little bit better. Don't want to lose my signature sideburns. I have seen side-by-side comparisons. I've seen side-by-side shaves before, but never at the same time. Now I'm going to tell you, just based on what I feel, feels like this one, the vintage one, might be a little bit milder. I don't know if that is because of there we go. I don't know if that is from the weight difference, because the heads are identical. So, not sure, but so far a good shave. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it about midway. I'm going to do a side by side. I'm going to do a across the grain sweep. And here's how I'm going to do that. Bring this side clear across. Hear that chatter? These are good razors. And good blades. Good cream. Smells wonderful because of the smolder in there. Now final lather, final pass. I bet you didn't know I was ambidextrous, did you? It's a gift. When I was in college, I actually taught myself how to write with both hands. Not that you care. But it was really handy whenever I was copying notes for my friends. Because you can write twice as fast if you write with both your hands. So, what we've accomplished is a 4-pass shave in less time than it usually takes me to do a 3-pass shave. And I can tell you, those razors, super smooth, felt great. I am going to wipe this cream off, and then I'm going to wipe my face down with some cold water just to close up the pores. By the way, when you get weepers and things like that, rather than using a lot of hot water, I usually do 1 hot water towel, and then I rinse it out with cold water. And it's wintertime here in western PA, so the water is really cold as it is. That is some cold water coming out of that tap. And what I do is sort of braces your skin a little bit. That's a good feeling. Alright, now, a couple little weepers there. I'll tell you what. There is no noticeable difference between the vintage and the new production. And you might think, well, why would you do that? Why does it matter? Who cares? Well, a lot of people should care. I'll tell you why a lot of people should care. Because some of the vintage razors out there sell for big bucks. And I've owned some really good vintage razors in my day. I've owned a lot of razors in my day, and there's always that old set or that old razor that you really want or that you really want to try. And for some people it's totally out of reach. For some people those vintage razors will never be attainable. And so what can you do then? Well, you know what? There's a lot of new manufacturer razors out there that are absolutely great. This gold one, this was an anniversary present from my wife, and it came with a leather Hofritz travel pouch, and really awesome razor. But it was more expensive than this new production razor. And so why? Well, because it's vintage, because it's old, because it's an antique. But you put them side by side and the two shave exactly the same. And you know, you've got razors like Icon coming out, and I showed you the last video with the OSS set that has the OSS head, the B1 head, and the open comb. And these are like the vintage Gillettes, only they're modern productions. And you know what? Honestly, I'm finding that, much to my surprise, these new production razors are great shavers. And so maybe you can't afford that old vintage Gillette. Maybe you can't afford that old Progress, or maybe you can't afford that old Hofritz. But you know what? These new razors that are coming out are using the same designs for the razor heads as the old ones do. So maybe you can't afford a vintage Hofritz, but you know what? You can probably afford a brand new Merkur slant, like a 37C, and it's exactly the same as the Hofritz slant, only like a third of the price. So don't be dismayed. Don't think that you'll never be able to get the razor that you want. maybe you just need to settle for a new production rather than a vintage one. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll tell you what, I enjoyed that shave. That was a great shave, and I look forward to my next one. So until then, have a great day. Shave on.